largely to talk about what it means to be starting your career in cybersecurity, and what it means to be interested in pursuing it or thinking about pursuing it. And I'm sure there are so many different resources like online that you could easily Google up on what resources are available to young professionals. But it's not every day that we get to hear from a CISO such as yourself. So I'd love if you could just introduce yourself, tell us about your background, and kind of what your work is like as a CISO.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Melina Scotto. It's nice to see everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I've been a CISO at both companies that serve the federal government and federal contracting, as well as Fortune 500. Right now, my role is as an advisor to other CISOs and board member to assist companies in really thinking in the boardroom about cybersecurity like a CISO would. My background was varied and colorful. I was supposed to be a famous opera singer by now. However, IT always paid the bills, and this is maybe 30 years ago, and paid for lessons. And so I really love to see artists, go for a technical side hustle, if you will, because it was always something that I think that the left-right side of your brain or something for artists and IT folks, also left-handers for some reason, seems to be, a common data point. But yes, I learned very early on in my singing career that I couldn't get paid enough. Apparently, it just didn't have what it took. However, loved database management, and the field was wide open at that time for IT. So I went quickly from database management. One day the supervisor said, "Well, you're now in charge of the network." And I said, "Okay." I'm going to need to read up on these blue screens of Novell. And then that quickly turned into firewalls. We didn't really call anything cybersecurity back then, but more like border security or firewall type security. And then I did some HIPAA type security for international health data, and then domestic health data, and then federal health data. So that's really when we started to see a border style of cybersecurity. Is it facing the public, right? Is it facing the internet? That's the only thing we have to secure. Kind of move into, hey, wait a minute, cyber criminals can make lateral movements, and so we really need to be securing everything. And that's when we started calling things cybersecurity rather than just kind of general border security. And so anyway, I was lucky enough to work with a big federal contractor. And one time when the federal government closed down, I couldn't bill this was in 2013 or so, I couldn't bill my feds. And so I said, well, what can I do, to bill something? And they said, oh, well, you're an engineer. You can always write proposal language, but engineers hate doing that kind of thing. And I said, well, if it's a payable, billable hour, I'm happy to write some cybersecurity language. And I loved it. I thought it was fantasy writing. I thought it was so cool. They give you kind of, they want rainbows and, unicorns, and from a cybersecurity perspective, and you kind of design this solution for them. And you say, well, my unicorns are the most magical, and my rainbows are the most colorful, and if the fantasy that you submit is better than the other fantasies that all of your competition submits, you win the bid. And I just loved it. And that's how I kind of moved up in that organization and became CISO over there, federal health. So only $3 billion worth of their work. But we had, I don't know, maybe 300 contracts or so across both Fed Civ and Fed Health, and had great mentors who were CISOs and CIO above the entire organization of 12 billion, and they were just so generous. And then I got the opportunity to work with the Fortune 500, which I enjoyed very much. It turns out we are fighting the same cyber criminals, so that was great. But just always said yes to the next challenge. Um, and what I would say to folks is who are early in their career is just try it. Don't tell yourself no, you know, that you're not that thing. Try it and find out if you are. If you had told me at age 23 or 24 that I was going to be a VP and a CISO, I would have thought you were mad, in IT. I just sort of thought that that's not for me, but you never know until you go into it. It's been a fascinating ride. I mean, in terms of these 30 years, being in cybersecurity has been, just an amazing ride, so much fun. There's been so much innovation. There's been, just so much opportunity for career growth. Yeah. I wonder if it's still there in my heart of hearts, or is AI is AI in 2025 the cybersecurity of 15 years ago in terms of young talent? Where are you going to have the most opportunity for growth? I think you can combine the two for sure. You can't be thinking about cybersecurity and protecting your data and protecting your systems without thinking about AI, because cyber criminals are, right? And we are in, a gunfight. We are in a cyber war, and it is going to take AI to defeat AI attacks. So there is an opportunity here to kind of combine, your AI education and certifications with your cybersecurity certifications. I'm a big certification freak. I highly recommend that, especially if cybersecurity is your sideline or you're not quite sure of it yet or whatever. And maybe you don't want to, devote maybe a 4-year technical bachelor's to it. Try a certification class, see how you do. I love the boot camps. Or if you just want to gain a little more knowledge, Dr. Lyron Andrews, all of his things on Udemy are incredible. He was one of my very first mentors and teachers for ISC Squared's Certified Cloud security professional, and he's wonderful. I would say ISC Squared, Udemy, that's where I would start, looking for certifications. Because, for instance, I was working in these environments and I was securing their databases and firewalls and so forth. But how do you know how you stack up against other engineers doing the same thing, or other cybersecurity doing it? You know what your tech stack, and you're doing your due diligence and maybe even getting a certificate in the vendor tech that you're using, right? Palo or Cisco, whatever the case may be, right? Back in the day. But how do you know how you compare with others? Taking the national trainings and getting a certificate is really the way to go. So, and I would say if folks are looking for a quick AI certificate right now, they are still free at Oracle, and they're very good. So you can get relatively quick, like if you're willing to put in 40 hours to some great training, beautifully done, very inexpensive. It's free still until October 1. But we've seen those dates come and go, and then they expanded a little bit more. But as of right now, get a certification in AI, get a certification in cybersecurity, and see if that's where you want to go. I would say back when I was coming up, they didn't have degree programs in cybersecurity, right? So I got a more of a network security degree in the end, a Bachelor of Science. But now folks, and the way that you got to a cybersecurity post or having cybersecurity in your job description was you had kind of made it through the ranks, right? Maybe you started with databases, or maybe you started at help desk, and then you kind of graduated to the next level. And then there was this opportunity to be in cybersecurity, which was great because you kind of needed to know all of those things. What am I asking somebody when I'm asking them to remediate this vulnerability, for instance, right? We can't just kind of stand in our towers and say, thou shalt remediate this right now, when we don't understand the level of effort that it's going to take, and the technical details that it's going to take to actually remediate this vulnerability. So that's what kind of having all of that history in your background really helps you, because now you can say, hey, let me demo this for you. This should take you about 20 minutes per, or, whatever the case may be. And now I understand you from the perspective that I had your job before, and I understand what's on your plate, particularly network people. It's about passing the packets. They would really like, to do things securely, but if it's between, operational being up and doing things securely, operations wins every time, right? So, so really having that perspective in your career, don't think that just because you have a cybersecurity degree right now that you should jump into cybersecurity and be successful. It would be helpful, I would recommend, to start in systems, or to get a little bit of training in systems or networking or AI, of course, all of the things, so that when you become that CISO or that cybersecurity professional, you're not just looking at it from an audit point of view. A checklist CISO is not something any of us want to be, right? You really want to understand where the threats are coming from, understand the intelligence, understand what it's going to take in your environment to shore up any flaws and keep reducing that cyber risk. I think from an engineer's point of view.
So you mentioned getting these certificates. So, say we have an individual who is maybe interested in going into cybersecurity, not entirely sure, so they take some of these certificate courses. And say after taking those courses, they're like, you know what, this is something I'm really interested in, this is something I want to pursue. Would you recommend them getting a 2-year, 4-year degree if this is something they want to pursue for the rest of their career? Does that help them stay competitive in this field, or is that not something they absolutely need?
No, I think that the world has changed, right, in the past 20 years or so when it comes to the value of 4-year degrees, right? Or even 2-year degrees. I would say I had lofty goals in the beginning, I really did, but I didn't achieve my bachelor's until I was 45 years old after a lot of certificates. That's just kind of my journey. And it depends on what's affordable for you, what makes sense, for you. If you can get the cert and get the job and have your company pay for your bachelor's or AA, fantastic. Especially if you see yourself as a CISO. If that's the goal, in a leadership position, then I would still say the world is as it always was. Get some formal education. And I really poo-pooed it. I have to say, I have years of my life where I thought, I don't need that. I'm doing the thing. I'm doing the work. But the variety of, I went to an in-state university in Maryland.
I'm NC State, so.
Yeah, all right. But the variety of different things that I learned really rounded me out, I thought, man, there's no need for me to be taking a basic Microsoft server course. But I use that stuff. So, just go for it. I would say, again, don't tell yourself no. Tell yourself, let me give it a try. See what I think. If you want to be an engineer or certainly a SOC, security operations center analyst, you probably don't need even a degree. If you have the certification, especially if you're neurodivergent, you all can see stuff that normal brains can't see. They're very good with pattern recognition and seeing indicators of compromise that other folks can't. And so I would say traditional learning is probably not your friend, right? Because that's very straight line thinking, like here's the syllabus, here's when this assignment's due, here's when the test is, right? But a lot of our beautiful kind of genius SOC people are thinking kind of wheel and spokes. You know what I mean? And so they can really see attacks from a different perspective. So if you want to do that, very few of them that I've seen, really require you to have that 2 or 4 year degree. I think it's good for, especially if you're a young person, being with people your age and a lot of social kind of things. It is a lot of fun, and but it really depends on what situation. If you're a young mother, you might not be able to. A young father, then I would say you also consider the military. You will get, the benefit of having great experience, the additional benefit of security clearance, and also, your veteran education benefit. So that's always a kind of great. If you're not sure, I know it's a commitment, to your country and such, but take that military aptitude test and see if you would be a good candidate for a SOC at a military installation, and kind of take it from there. But yes, I think if you want a leadership role, eventually along your journey, you can get it. Just start out there, but know that your ceiling is going to lower over time if you don't break through it with some sort of degree.
Right. Okay. And earlier you mentioned mentors, and that was actually one of my questions. Like, say someone wants to find a mentor, someone who's wants to learn more. How should they go about that?
I've gotten many of my mentees through LinkedIn. I mean, that's just,
okay. Yeah.
How it works, and friends and family. And I just, I think you can certainly start with where you work, or maybe where you'd like to work, or if you're still in school, definitely get a job on campus in their IT department somewhere, so that you can kind of find mentors, right?
Yeah.
But yes, they're all around you. One of my first mentors, his name was Chad, and he was just so great. I mean, just always a positive coach in your corner, never an unkind word to say. And when I was wrong, and we're all wrong, sometimes he was very gentle and generous about correcting me. And that was fantastic. He was an IT manager from way back. And he tended to keep his people with him when he went from job to job. And I would keep that in the back of your mind. Your mentor is going to know a lot about you, know about the value that you bring. And remember, it's not just a benefit for you as the mentee, but they will always have a person on their side that maybe if they need another contact or worker be on their team, then you can fulfill that role. So yes, I love my mentors. They really just always there when you need them, and it's important to both have a mentor and be a mentor, so that you're kind of closing that cycle.
Yeah. And you talked a little bit about this earlier in the beginning of this interview, but I'd like to touch back on it again, which is that when you were first going into cybersecurity, it may be very different then than it is today. Would you say it's for better or for worse? Like, do you feel like there's more opportunities, maybe not right at the early career level, but maybe like right above that, where you have a little bit more experience? Because I know you were talking about the way AI is affecting like those early professional sort of job roles. How would you say this is all shaping the field today?
Oh, it's so much more razzle dazzle now than it was, back then. Back then we were like these ogres of the network, just like, we were nags. We were, nobody wanted to talk cybersecurity, and often I observe this too, and I say this from a humble place, you know, they would kick people over to cybersecurity if they didn't know what to do with them, because it was kind of emerging and so forth. Now it's a very plum role to be in cybersecurity team, right? You're not, the have-nots in the IT manager's eyes or the CIO's eyes. You're really part of how they do business every day, how they bring value to the rest of their organization, not just kind of keeping the fat out of the fryer from a cyber criminal point of view, but it's a service. Cybersecurity is a service, and you have to do it well. Turns out, you can't just provide great controls. You have to help people understand what the controls are doing and how it furthers, operations, how it makes them more competitive, how it adds to the bottom line. And that's really about relationship building. So I think it's changed a lot in the past 20 years.
Okay.
Absolutely. And people understand now in a way they didn't understand that cyber risk is business risk. And that wasn't a thing before. We had to, stand on our soapboxes and say, this is a really good thing to do, not just because we kind of have to do it from a regulatory perspective, but it turns out, a well-patched system is not just, more secure, but it's a better running system.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to ask you about what stands out to you, like, because you're in a leadership position, what stands out to you in terms of just like personal qualities, characteristics of people you've managed, or maybe even people who have managed you? Like what stands out to you in terms of what made them great at their job, and maybe, say like people in your company or in other companies who are hiring, what are they looking for in terms of characteristics?
Sure. Okay. Let me start from the perspective of folks that have been above me, been my supervisors and leaders and so forth.
Yeah.
That confidence and generosity of spirit is really what makes the greats great. Everybody's knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And being super smart doesn't give you the right to be unkind to people. And so you'll get kind of this, I'd say, like middle level of leader that is not the greatest leadership in the world, but you kind of, they're like the B and C students, if you will, of leadership. And they're very hardcore and they're very nasty to people. And maybe they're covering their own behinds or, whatever. But I find that once you get to that A plus area, full generosity of spirit, it's a different vibe altogether. And look for people like that who make you feel good.
Yeah.
It sounds a little simple, but you want to love what you do. You want to love the people that you're working with. I don't mean it in a weird way. It's just that mutual respect for them. And not always like you're, an axe is about to come down upon you or something. If it trusts your gut, if it doesn't feel good, then get out of that organization. Start laying, keep the food on the table, but start laying the groundwork to get out of that organization. And I would say what I look for like young talent is, that spark in their eye. It's unlikely to be on their resume, right?
Yeah.
They'll do all the things, but can you have a conversation with somebody?
Yeah.
Can we connect? Are you curious about cybersecurity? Why cybersecurity? What excites you about it?
Yeah.
Again, I'd much rather have that B plus student who's not sure, but who's kind of willing to put themselves out there, willing to try new things, willing, to take a little bit of risk, than the A student who knows everything. And, I can't teach you anything if you're not open to me teaching you anything,
Yeah.
right? So I think generous and humble works both up and down the scale. Confidence comes over time, and just building teams where every exchange is an opportunity to build somebody up or to tear them down, and make sure as both a leader and a participant, you're not cutting people down. You're looking at the whole team and you're trying to build each other up.
Awesome. Yeah. So you touched so many of my points just like in the beginning of our conversation. So I think that's it from me. But if you have any last words of like what you would recommend to people who are maybe thinking about this field or maybe aren't sure, love to hear them. If not, it's totally fine.
Let's see. I would say final words are there are many paths that take you to cybersecurity leadership. If that's what you would like to do. And your path is all your own. Don't let anybody tell you that you're, doing it the wrong way, if you will.
Yeah.
It's your way. And there are plenty of folks, good folks, that want to help you succeed. So seek them out.